Here's a question I got a little obsessed with. Could you get paid a dividend every single month of the year, real cash landing in your account, using nothing but big, boring, recognizable UK companies? Not some obscure monthly income fund, names you already know, the kind of shares you'd find in almost any FTSE 100 tracker. Most of these companies only pay you twice a year. A few pay 4 times. So on paper, filling all 12 months should be a nightmare. But there are 2 months that almost break the whole thing. Stick with me, I'll build the calendar out in front of you, month by month, until everyone is covered. Very quickly, the important bit. This is not financial advice, I'm just documenting my own investing journey and today having a bit of fun with a puzzle. None of this is a recommendation to buy anything. Always do your own research before you put your own money in. Let's start with the stock that does the heavy lifting, GSK. You'll know it, one of Britain's biggest names in medicines and vaccines. For our calendar, the thing that matters is when it pays. GSK pays 4 times a year, January, April, July and October. And here's why it leads. GSK hasn't cut its dividend in over a decade. There's one step down in the record that looks like a cut. But it wasn't. That was the year it spun off its consumer health arm into a separate company, so the dividend was simply split in 2. A corporate reshuffle, not a business in trouble. Shell, the oil and gas giant. And a stock you'll find in almost every UK pension fund. Shell pays quarterly too, but on the opposite schedule to GSK, March, June, September and December, dropping neatly into the gaps between them. Now, Shell is where the honesty comes in. Back in 2020, when the pandemic hit, Shell cut its dividend for the first time since the Second World War. A genuine shock. But here's the part that matters. It didn't disappear. Shell has rebuilt that dividend every single year since, growing it steadily back up. That's a pattern worth remembering. A good company that wobbled in 2020, then came back. So, where does that leave us? Just 2 companies in, and most of the calendar's already lit up. But 4 months are still dark. February, May, August, and November. And this is where it gets interesting. Because those 4 are exactly the months the big, easy names tend to miss. Quick one before we fill those gaps. If you like this sort of thing, UK dividend investing worked out in plain English, with no hype, the best way to see more is to subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel more than you'd think. Right, let's finish the calendar. First gap, May. And for that, I'd pick Aviva, one of the UK's biggest insurers. Pensions, car and home cover, the kind of company millions of people already have a policy with. Aviva's main dividend lands in May. And Aviva tells almost exactly the same story as Shell. It cut its dividend in 2020 as well. A lot of the market did that year, and it's been rebuilding and growing it ever since. Same lesson twice. A cut in a genuine crisis isn't the end of the story if the company comes back. Aviva also pays again in October, though October was already covered by GSK. So think of that one as a bonus, not a new month. May is the win. That leaves November. And for a clean, everyday name, it's hard to beat Tesco. Britain's biggest supermarket. You really don't need me to explain what it does. Tesco pays its 2 dividends in June and November. June was already covered by Shell, but November is a brand new month for us. And Tesco's the easy one to like here. Through all the chaos of the last decade, the accounting scandal, the pandemic, the cost of living squeeze, it's kept paying and lately kept growing. No drama, just a reliable November payday. Which brings us to the 2 that nearly beat me. Look at the calendar now. 4 big household names, and nearly the whole year is filled in. And then there's February and August. These 2 are where most people give up. Almost none of the big, famous UK names pay in February or August. I stared at this for ages. United Utilities. If you live in the northwest of England, it's the company that pipes water into your home. And it turns out water is about as boring and dependable a business as you can find. Here's the magic for us. United Utilities pays its 2 dividends in, you guessed it, February and August. The exact 2 months nobody else would fill. And its track record is the opposite of dramatic. No cut in 2020. No cut, full stop, that I can find in the last decade. Just steady, roughly with inflation rises, year after year. A water company was the piece that finished the puzzle. February and August, done. And there it is. Every single month of the year now has a dividend landing in it. January through December, no gaps, from just 5 companies you could name off the top of your head: GSK, Shell, Aviva, Tesco, and the quiet hero, United Utilities. A full year of dividend income built entirely from the FTSE 100. Now, 2 honest things before you go, because a tidy calendar can quietly fool you. First, a dividend in every month looks lovely, but it doesn't actually mean more money. You're not earning more by spreading the payments out. You're just receiving the same income in 12 smaller drops instead of a few bigger ones. Neater, not richer. And second, remember how Shell and Aviva both cut their dividends back in 2020. 2 of our 5, along with a good slice of the wider market. They came back, and that's the reassuring part. But it's a good reminder that no dividend is ever truly guaranteed. Whether a calendar like this is worth building is genuinely up to you. For me, it was simply a satisfying puzzle to solve, and a reminder of how much these big UK names quietly hand back to their shareholders. If you enjoyed the puzzle, a subscribe really does help the channel keep going. Happy investing.